The mentally poor versus language. There was a time in the United States where there was a raging debate whether or not we should have, that every person should speak the language of their birth, or the language, rather, of their culture, or their creed, or their race, if you remember that time. This was a debate that was stirred up by the mentally poor. And make no mistake, the mentally poor, they know exactly what they're doing. They do it on purpose. So I was on my way home from work, and I stopped at this convenience store. It's owned by some Iranians, and it was their kids that were running the counter. So I walk in, it was pretty late at night, and I walk in and I could see that they were having a debate with one another. And they had a book open. You could see it had fine print on it. You know how you catch these things as you walk into a room. So I walk in and I caught that scene, and I walk and I get my stuff, and I walk to the counter. And they looked at each other, and then they looked at me, and then they looked at each other, and then both of them came to the counter. And they both said, we want to ask you a question. And I said, yeah, okay, sure, Now, first of all, let me just say, that takes a lot of courage for a kid to ask a question, for anyone to ask a question. Because when you ask a question, you're saying that you don't know. That is wisdom, to ask a question when you don't know. But it takes courage to do so, because the mentally poor want to mock you and make you feel like a fool for asking a question just because you don't know. Make sure you understand this point. There's a big difference between not knowing something and the mentally poor. If you don't know something, you don't know, and you should grow in wisdom and understand what it is you don't know, what it is that you're curious about. God has given you curiosity. Be curious. So, anyway, they asked me this question. They said, what do you think about the United States having one language? And so I stopped and I was just thinking, because I wanted to order my thoughts, and they thought that I didn't want to talk. And I held up my hand and I said, no, just wait, just give me a minute. And this is another thing, people want you to answer off of the cuff. They want to ask you a question and then go, have the answer. When you answer like that, you will almost always say the wrong thing. You will almost always say a foolish thing. Take time to think. Order your thoughts. Consider the ramifications of the words you're going to use. So I'm sitting there, or standing at the counter, and I'm thinking, and I look at one of the kids and I said, you, go into the store and get a box of matches, a box of wooden matches. And so I'm still thinking, and he comes running back. They're all ears. And so I opened a box of matches, and I took out about 15 of the wooden matches. Now you're going to have to use your imagination. I don't have any matches with me. And so I said, let's just pretend that each one of these matchsticks is a person, or a nation, or a creed, or a language. Okay? So I pick up the first one and I say, this here is English, or Caucasians, if you will. And then I pick up the next one. This here is Germans, and I snapped it in half. This here is the Japanese, and I snap it in half. And the Chinese, and the North Korean, and the South Korean, and the Taiwanese, and the Portuguese, and the Spanish, right? So I'm going through the list. The French, the English, you know. And they're like, yeah, okay. And so then I swept all of those broken pieces aside, took out another 15, and I said, now this is the same people. And I lined them all up, and I held them in like a round thing. So all 15 of them were in this round thing, and I was holding them. And I said, now these are the same people. Now these people are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I said, now, that was articulated by the United States Constitution, but that is a precept that comes from God. Okay, this is knowledge that comes from God. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I held it up, and then I tried to break it. It wouldn't break. It wouldn't break. And I said, now, the thing that binds these people together are the principles of God. To treat others the way you want to be treated. The knowledge of you will reap what you sow. To have respect for one another. To love your neighbor as yourself. These are the principles that bind this people together. It gives them common ground. And each one of those people can operate uniquely and individually to themselves. Because everyone realizes and respects another person's right to do whatever it is that makes them happy. Because they know the other person is also going to respect my right to do what it is that makes me happy. One nation under God, with liberty and justice for all. So then we start over again, and we say, okay, now why is it that the mentally poor want everybody to embrace the language and culture of their race? Why do they want this? They do want it, and they want it on purpose. Why? And it's so that they can divide you, each and every one of you. And once they've done that, they want to set you against each other, to hate each other, to scoff at each other. Oh, well, look at him. He's tall. Ha, 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 ha. You know, look at him. He's got an earring. Shouldn't we go beat him up? Let's go beat him up because he's got an earring. Well, I would say, well, why? Didn't God give him the right to do the things that he wants to do within his sphere of influence? I mean, if he wants to wear an earring, you know, that's his business, right? I don't wear earrings. I don't want him to hold me hostage to what makes him happy. Therefore, I am not going to hold him hostage to what it is that makes me happy. For instance, I like to take showers, especially during the winter when it's cold outside. I love going outside and getting cold, just for the sake of getting cold. And then coming in the house and taking a shower. I love having the hot water running over me. I just love that. I mean, I know people that take showers to get clean. You know? It's like, get clean, man. I just love to have the hot water running over the top of me, man. I just love that. That's just like, I'll take 2 or 3 of them a day. I'll take a shower and go back outside and get cold. And then come back in and take a shower. Because that is something that makes me happy. I like that. That's just unique and individual to me. That's what I like. If he likes to do X, Y, or Z, well, that's his business, isn't it? Why should I hate him? Why should I hate him? Wait a second. It's the mentally poor that want you to hate someone else. The reason is because they hate everybody. The mentally poor hate God. They hate truth. They hate the knowledge of God. They hate the precepts and statutes and judgments of God. And here's a really big one. Man was created in the image of God. The mentally poor hate God. What better way to hate God than to turn you against each other and have you start beating each other up? Start being violent to one another. Mock each other. Hate each other. Call each other names. Make each other feel stupid. All so that you can be conformed to the image of the mentally poor.